Hello. Today's date is July 18th, 2017. Now, I always start my videos out acting a little bit goofy, and I think it's just because I'm video shy, so bear with me. Before I start unpacking the subject matter of this particular video, let's see if anybody, for any reason, comes on this property while I'm making this video, and at any time that I'm on the property in the next 72 hours, from this literal second forward. Now, I'm going to make some statements pertaining to some of the experiences that I've experienced as a result of being indisputably gang-stalked to over 25 wooded areas in San Diego since August 8, 2011. And then what I'm going to do is then segue into the subject matter of this video. This is a video that is going to be dedicated to the video series for lawyers. Okay? And I'll get to that within what the subject matter of this video once I start talking about that. Now, periodically throughout this video, I'll have to check to make sure I'm still live broadcasting. Okay? So if this video abruptly stops or doesn't get posted to Periscope, why would that happen? I got more than enough memory and more than enough power on my power bar. The phone otherwise is like 98% working correctly. So go to Google and type in cell phone hacking and gang stalking, and that also encompasses cell phone GPS tracking and gang stalking. It's not stalking by gangs. So at any time you can feel free to go into this Periscope account and look at all my videos, follow instructions pertaining to my statements. Also pay attention to all URL links and all Periscope video titles, and you will see truth. Now, fellow American citizens, if anybody comes anywhere around me on this property, I don't give a shit if they don't say a word to me or not. I don't care if they act crazy or nice, or act nice and then crazy. It will be gang stalking. Do you know what they're doing? You just would not believe what I am experiencing. It's just flat out, oh my God, you just would not believe what I'm experiencing literally every single day. Not only in wooded areas, but also every single day along every single... Excuse me, please. I just got done eating along every single one of my routes as well. Now, what I'm going to introduce to you, if you've never heard of this crime, and even if you have heard of this crime, if you've never heard of what I'm going to describe, understand when you listen to what the subject matter is about in this video, and then you incorporate my statements now, and then the subject matter, and then what's in the title of this Periscope video, together, you will see truth. Now, you can also go to my blog, which is attached to my Twitter account, and what is pasted within the title of this Periscope video is a tweet from my Twitter account. So, the reason why I make predictions in part, which I've talked about in other videos, okay, and the reason why I'm sharing it again is because this crime is escalating again towards me. So, the reason why I think it's prudent and cautious and healthy to make predictions about what could happen, concern me, about me, around me, towards me, or against me, at wooded areas and along my routes, is because of the way this crime is covertly managed, okay, overtly and at times directly executed towards you. And when they do anything around you, they have to engage in specific crafted presentations on what they do to you, because they got to make sure that what they're doing to you has normal appearing excuses, reasons, and mishaps, that it's happening because of normal appearing reasons, excuses, and mishaps. But they also have to make sure that their behavior, okay, blends in with the environments the target's in. They also have to make it appear that they have a normal appearing excuse to know where the target's at, okay, and why they're bringing about what they're bringing about against the target, and that includes the witnesses. And I'm referring to staged events, which are called street datings and gang stalking crimes. Now, I was made homeless in Michigan as a result of being a victim of this crime. My blog, which is attached to my profile, my Twitter account, indisputably proves that I was gang stalked to at least 4 to 5 apartments in Michigan and made homeless from every single one of them. Absolutely. I can trace methodologies and patterns of behaviors that were going on all the way back to 1989 in Michigan, when I got my very first apartment in Dearborn, Michigan. Absolutely. Okay, so it's not uncommon at all. In fact, the majority of the targeted individuals of their blogs and YouTube videos that I've seen, I have seen hundreds of targets all over the internet state that as a result of being a victim of this crime, when they start to become aware of what's happening towards them, is because when you're a victim of this crime, okay, over a long period, extended time, you start to recognize patterns, right? You start to recognize what's being brought about against you. You start recognizing who's playing a role in at least the harassment, who's protecting it. You start to realize through all these experiences that patterns of behaviors, techniques, personalities, employment descriptions, businesses, universities, okay, and even landlords and property owners. Like, if you're renting an apartment, if you're renting an apartment at a apartment complex, sorry, okay, you start to recognize patterns of things that are happening towards you. Now, I'd say around anywhere between 82 to 94% of all victims, okay, are absolutely, eventually, extremely, massively exploited. But some are brought to this end of this campaign and kept trapped in it in reference to the exploitation immediately. Like people who don't have an income, people who don't have strong family ties, people that they want to hurry up and get a hold of for whatever reason, because they believe that they're an easier target to exploit because they do not have anybody to run to or no money to depend on. And it's all over the internet that we know, that targeted individuals know. Thousands of us, it cannot be stated any clearer, thousands all over the internet begging for help, absolutely know the police are involved and completely controlled. Absolutely, absolutely. But yet also the police can be targeted as well. Okay, so you can go to YouTube and Google and type in Hemet Police California Gang Squad being gang stalked. Alright, so let me just interject this real fast. If at any time again this video stops for whatever reason before I say thank you, goodbye, still research everything that I've already stated up to that point. Okay, so it's all over the internet that they're creating the homelessness of victims, okay, by privately colluding with, okay, landlords and property owners, okay. Now you can get a hint and a sense of how that can be achieved by going to YouTube and typing in "listen to a stranger," and by going to Google and typing in "fake bogus criminal investigation files in gang stalking" and "slander in gang stalking" and then "police in gang stalking." If an intelligence officer like an FBI agent and or a law enforcement agent and or a Department of Homeland Security agent approaches a landlord and says this person is under criminal investigation, okay, and you combine that with his badge, the intimidation of his that comes with the influence of his employment description, along with a slander campaign, that landlord or property owner is going to do what they're told, because they don't want to have any trouble with the government, because they already know the money that they went through and bringing their building up to code in order to be able to rent apartments out. They're already very seasoned when it comes to knowing what the government can do to them. Okay? So make no mistake about it, landlords and property owners are people just like you and me and the next person. Okay? They will, especially if they don't know that these individuals are actually involved in organized crime motivations. Okay? There's an extreme likelihood, like 99% a chance, that they're going to believe what the individuals are telling them because they don't know what's going on. Okay? But make no mistake about it as well, there's a lot of landlords and property owners that are directly connected to these crimes. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. So just extensively research at Google and YouTube, especially Google, about how they create the homelessness of victims. Think about it this way. How do you think it's possible for these filthy, criminally insane animals to be able to create the homelessness of the victim if they didn't know where the victim lived, in order to privately collude with property owners, landlords, and managers of apartments, motels, and so on? How do you honestly think that they were able to create the homelessness of the gang stalking victim from these places if the target wasn't already being gang stalked and already picked for this campaign? And since it's not only all over the internet that they're creating the homelessness of victims, but it's also all over the internet that they're employing very sophisticated techniques to make sure that the homelessness is kept ongoing. Okay? If you're at a wooded area and you have, let's say, at least you have 40% of peace during the day, it's quiet during this 40%, time frame. Okay, and then you're influenced to go to a homeless shelter through a corrupt cop as a result of a staged event and him coming to a wooded area, and he says, well, you got to go to a homeless shelter because if you're caught again, you'll face a $5,000 fine and you'll go to jail, and you can lose your benefits as well, Social Security and Social Services benefits. And trust me, I have absolute reason to be stating that. That's not just being stated because I know that you can lose your benefits if you're in jail for more than 9 days for illegal lodging, trespassing, encroachment, or any other bullshit that they'll charge you with after staged events. Okay, it's because of the fact that I know they sent me text messages in the mail stating you lose your benefit when you're arrested again for illegal lodging. They sent me letters in the mail. Okay, so and they've also creatively have they ever propped up any individuals within the San Diego homeless rescue missions to make sure that I know that as well. Because a huge aspect of gang stalking, including foundational programming of gang stalking, has to do with fear. Okay, so if you spend 40% of your time in a wooded area, say we usually spend, 12 to 13 hours a day awake, 8 hours of sleeping, right? So when we're awake and we're at a wooded area, I at least experience anywhere between 20 to 40% of my time at wooded areas in a marginal amount of peace because of this crime. Okay? If I went to a homeless shelter, I would experience literally zero. But they'll advertise it to make it appear that if you go to this homeless shelter, you'll get all this help. All you gotta do is sign the papers. You get there, everybody's nice and polite. You sign the papers, and boom, the gang stalking starts of you immediately. Or even before you sign the papers. Okay? If they decide that this target's too hot and they don't want no documentation about the target in the target's hands. Okay? That they've been there. And the reason why I brought all this up is because the goal for them is to keep you homeless so they can use the homelessness and the circumstances against you to exploit you, okay, and to create what is known as foundational programming, mind pattern programming. Mind pattern programming connected to some, pertaining to some of the techniques that are being employed against specific target individuals who might be being subject to. This is a might. I'm not saying this is happening to me or that I suspect it or that I believe it. Just hear what I had to say. In organized stalking and gang stalking criminal expeditions, one of the main things that is happening to gang stalking victims is human experimentation. Google that to gang stalking. Sorry, I just got the meeting. Google that to gang stalking, and then go to Google and type in HetroDyning and remote neural monitoring in gang stalking. Then go to Google and type in how targets of this crime are being illegally, non-consensually, neurally implanted, including with stimulated responsive implants, brain-to-computer interface implants, prosthetic implants, EMG implants, bladder implants, vagina implants, okay, stimulated responsive implants, you name it, okay. And what these implants are doing is interfacing with the remote neural monitoring. The remote neural monitoring is literally taken from the target, okay, and harvesting, they're choreographing, brain mapping the target, and then harvesting frequencies that are taken from the target from experiences, brain state frequencies that are created and reinforced through the gang stalking crimes, okay, of harassment, bullying, and fear campaigns, okay. So you emit frequencies that are called, from your emotions, that are called emotional clusters. You emit frequencies from your brain states. You emit frequencies from your EEG signatures. It's called HetroDyning. So you can go to Google at any time and type in EEG, HetroDyning, and gang stalking, and remote neural monitoring. Look at what comes up. And you'll see I'm telling you the truth. It's all over the internet. So when they create the homelessness of the victim, they then put the victim in a wooded area. They know, because they know everybody's got to sleep. So what they'll do is and you got to also remember this. In gang stalking, they operate on a template of methods, tactics, techniques, protocols, and maneuvers against the target. Every single bit of this crime is brought about against the target through, but not limited to, covert physical surveillance and illegal GPS tracking. Okay? So, in order for them to create any type of brain state or or creation and reinforcement of specific thinking patterns. They have to be able to say what kind of thinking patterns and emotional responses do we want this victim to have. And they say, okay, we want this victim for fear. So we can choreograph in the area of the brain that processes fear and then literally harvest the frequencies from the brain states that are experiencing the fear. What can we do to make the target feel fearful? We can make the target feel fearful that, because they put the target in survival mode. You got to remember, every human being on this planet is afraid of three things: lack of food, shelter, and water. Okay, and I'm sorry, actually four, and safety. Okay, so in order to put a target in survival mode, and then they make them homeless, and then what they'll do is threaten the survival by making threats about being arrested for illegal lodging, trespassing, or encroachment, by about making threats concerning stealing their property, by and through about creating threats that their benefits are going to be lost when they're arrested for illegal lodging, trespassing, or encroachment, or when they're set up for an event along the routes and accused of being violent or crazy. You understand? So in order to create this mind pattern programming, the mind pattern programming is where they use the mind to create the fear through the threats. Okay? And the threats are brought about around the target, about the target. So the target will hear it and or see it. Like, for instance, they'll get around you and say, "GangStalk, why don't you come and steal her stuff? GangStalk, why don't you call the cops and get her out of here?" And on other occasions, they'll bring an individual up on the property to assault the target, and they'll let the target creatively know that it was because of GangStalking, because the one who did it was intentionally told to do a specific thing for the target to see or hear that the target's been sensitized to. Google sensitization messaging. Okay. So the whole goal for them is to keep the target in a non-stop survival mode and then non-stop threaten that survival, to keep the fear alive and potentiated. So, if you're constantly hearing threats all day in one form or another, because say if you're at a wooded area and you've been conditioned for 3 years to be afraid of being caught for illegal lodging, trespassing, or encroachment, through text messages sent to you on your older phone, through 3 letters in the mail, through constant threats around you at wooded areas for over 2 years, okay? Absolutely. Okay, that I've made hundreds of videos about. Okay, so the creation of the fear, and then the reinforcement of it as a result of what you see and hear, and then the creation and the fear and the reinforcement of fear that you're going to be assaulted again, okay, is done to anchor these fears in your mind while associating stimuli to them. So whenever the stimuli are represented, okay, the fear is excited in order to excite that frequency, to keep it right under the threshold of firing, because it has now become potentiated. So in order to create mind pattern programming, you've got to constantly, in one form or another, represent the stimuli. Okay? So let me give an example of stimuli so you can see with your mind. Say you got an old woman. I've already talked about this briefly in other videos. Say if you get an old woman and she's at her home. Now I gotta plug my battery charger back in for a second, so if this video stops and you can see me for a second, just stay with me, okay? And if it stops completely, I'll just start a new video and continue where I left off. Hold on. Stimuli are sensitization methods, where they will attach and anchor something for you to be sensitive to that is attached to and associated to an episodic memory. And an episodic memory is a memory that is associated to a trauma. You understand? Let me give you a for instance. Think that old lady is living by herself. She's not living in a very good neighborhood. And one day she's sitting in her living room. She just got done watching her favorite program. She's about ready to go to bed, and all of a sudden she hears a noise at her back door. Okay? That noise she hears is going to get her attention because she heard it through her ears. It got her mental attention. 2 minutes later, 3 men break through her back door, run through her kitchen. She sees it all, hears it all. They run towards her, tie her up, beat the shit out of her, and rob her. That is an episodic memory. Okay? After that's all over with, whenever she's in her living room or anywhere else in her house, if she hears anything by her back door, it's going to stimulate that episodic memory. Just like a Vietnam vet will have a mental response and an associated memory when he hears a car backfiring. Because during the Vietnam War, he was in many war theaters where gunshots were going off. And a car backfiring sounds like a gunshot. So as soon as he hears that car backfire, he's going to automatically remember a pictorial memory, an episodic memory. Episodic means a memory that's based on an episode, and an episode means an event. You understand? Okay. So what they'll do is they'll attach certain stimuli to the fear. Alright? Case in point, they have somebody come up and assault you connected to GangStalking, and before, during, and after the assault, they'll put their hands to their nose like this. Because they know, the persons who are using them know that they got you sensitized to that physical gesture. Google it. Sensitization methods in GangStalking. Okay? Or they'll clear his throat in a specific way, or cough. Even something as mild as coughing. Now, I want you to pay attention to this as well. When you go to Google and research sensitization methods extensively connected to GangStalking, you'll clearly see that they're sensitizing victims to people sneezing, coughing, clearing their throat, clapping, whistling, normal things that everyday people do. You understand? That way, when they stage an event and the person assaults the target, and the target calls 911, and the cops come, the cops say, well, why do you think this was because of GangStalking? Well, because he did a specific thing in front of me before, during, and after the assault. Well, what did he do? Well, he coughed in a certain way, or he touched his nose, or he went like this with his hair. You understand? Okay? Or he sneezed, or he whistled, or he made a certain sound before he came on the property. You understand? Now, this is done, too, for two reasons. It's done to intentionally, mentally let the target know that it was actually because of GangStalking, okay? And it's done so the cop has a normal apparent reason to call the target crazy. Because that was the reason why they created the homelessness, to stage these events so the cops can be used for this bullshit. Falsified information sheets, police reports, and incident reports are used in the assistance of gaining illegal probate control of the target for federal and state funds, insurance fraud, and human trafficking once the target's put in a group home. You understand? And that's part of the reason why they stage events over long periods of time. So the cops can claim, look, we got a long history that Leslie's been a chronic homeless person. She thinks she's being gang stalked. We better get Miss Williams some help. But they won't investigate gang stalking. Let me give you an example. On Thanksgiving Day, 2013, look at how close this camera is right now to me. Okay? It's not even a foot and a half away from me. On Thanksgiving Day, 2013, I was on Gilman Road, and two individuals came out of a La Jolla Hideaway condominium complex and literally stopped in the sidewalk and obstructed my ability to continue to ride my bike. So I got off my bike and tried to walk around them, right? So as I was trying to do this, they got right in my face, closer than my phone is to me right now, and yelled, gang stalking, and gang stalking, I'm going to fuck you up. They said, be nice, and oh my God, as they were doing it, okay, I caught it on tape. Now, my tape recorder rests below my chin. They were right in my face, literally. Now, I played that audio to over 12 different San Diego cops and several park rangers. They all conveniently claimed that they can't hear it. Hold on. Let me pick my tape recorder back up. Hold on. 7 days after I told a UCSD campus police officer that individuals are getting around me all over the campus and repeating gang stalk and threats as well periodically. Okay? So I taped that and published that to a YouTube video, okay, as well, on 11/27/2013, the day before the Thanksgiving event. Now, one of the two individuals that played a role in the Thanksgiving event was one of three men that they intentionally popped up to hike out 100 feet away from me at a specific wooded area off of Gilman Road. Okay, they constantly yelled gang stalk and oh my God and gang stalk and suck my dick every day. I made videos about it every single day in the year 2012, 13, 14, until they left. Okay? Then I caught him coming back on the property. He came back on the property to get some things that he left behind. And I confronted him about the Thanksgiving event, and as he's denying it, he says, be nice. He was repeating, be nice, as the Thanksgiving event was unfolding. So I caught that on tape too. And all that's in my blog. Now, the point being, the reason why I brought this up is that because in order to mentally control a target from a distance, to keep that fear alive every day, is to overtly prop up what the target has been sensitized to around the target from a distance. It's done to let the target know they know where you're at. It's done to make the target feel mentally harassed, okay? And it's also done to make the target wonder what's going to happen today as a result of this crime, because they know they're dealing with a target that they've had assaulted 6 times and have gang stalked to over 25 different hiking areas and along the target's route. You understand? I'm going to give you an example. Let me load the cigarette here real fast. There's a video online right now that you can go to YouTube and type in gang stalking. You can go to YouTube and type in a YouTube search box, California teenagers caught in surveillance harassing neighbors. Now that video is actually about gang stalking. Either the victims didn't know it or the media didn't know it. Okay? That video is absolutely about gang stalking. I'm going to talk to you about it here in a second as soon as I can get my cigarette lit. Hold on 1 second. Now let's see if just by any chance that this video doesn't upload, okay? Or you're not able to hear it or watch it. Hold on. The cell phone hacking, organizing your YouTube accounts, email accounts, Periscope accounts, whatever, is a method of gang stalking. Google it. Okay? So anyways, let me give you an example about how that video that I just talked about, that news broadcast, is connected to gang stalking. Because what gang stalking does, in part when it comes to the harassment and the formation of the sensitization, meaning that how they make you sensitive to something and then will use what they've sensitized you to repeat it to keep that sensitization alive. What you're going to view in that news broadcast is 2 teenagers outside of a couple's home and banging on cars every night after night after night. So the neighbors, and then they cut a hole in the front door of their front door screen. Then what they would do every night is get in front and by the house and engage in activities to let the people know that they were there. Okay, you literally see it on video in the news broadcast. Now this was done night after night after night after night. So first it was outside the home by the cars, banging on the cars every night and acting crazy. Then they started coming closer to the home. Okay, it was talked about and discussed in the news broadcast about first how they cut a hole in the screen door, the front door. Then later on in the broadcast, they talked about how one of them was spotted underneath the bedroom window of their daughter. So let's take a look at this. First, they make you fearful about somebody breaking into your car. Then they associate it to people that are acting wild. Then they start bringing it closer to the home. And what are 2 things that you would be very protective of pertaining to your home? Your front door and the human beings in the home, your daughter. Because you're going to see some sexual shit. You're going to see some sexual stuff in that news broadcast. And that's what it was about. It was about anchoring fear about property theft or damage, cars. It was about associating it to people acting wild and crazy. It was reinforced by constantly doing it every night. Okay? And then the campaign came closer to the actual physical home. They tear a hole in the screen door. That's done to make them wonder when they leave, are they going to come home and their home's been broken into. Then they prop up people to stand and be caught and intentionally be seen right underneath the bedroom window of the daughter. That's done now, so they got to worry about what's going to happen to my child. Put them in and keep them in fear about their home being broken into, about their car being broken into or stolen, and about their daughter being molested. You understand? So, 4 techniques used to create fear about 3 things. You understand? You can also go to YouTube and type in gang stalking bullying on steroids. You'll clearly see that victim stating he's harassed everywhere he goes, including in his own home, and the fact that they even got on the roof of his home. You understand? So what am I putting up with every day? I'm putting up with individuals getting around me. And check this out. How many people's cars are breaking down anywhere around me, directly parallel to me? How many people are being pulled over by cops directly parallel to me? Okay? How many public workers, whether they be public workers or contract workers for the city or county, parking their vehicles directly parallel to me? Okay? Absolutely. How many bicyclists are going by me at wooded areas and saying gang stalk and suck my dick? How many times are people walking up through the property acting like they're just cutting through because they're joggers? Especially right before I set up my tent at night. That's done to make you wonder, if they see you, are they gonna call the cops on you to keep you in this fear? The noises that they intentionally make around me at wooded areas. Who's coming to, just like with the old woman in her house. She hears somebody at her back door. 2 minutes later, somebody breaks in and they assault her, rob her. And then every time she hears a sound at her back door, boom, it stimulates that episodic memory. And this is what gang stalking is all about. Part. Now, if you don't believe what I'm saying, check this out. You can go, I'm sure you probably do, because once you research what I've stated, you'll see I'm telling you the truth. Just those news broadcasts alone should tell you that they're intentionally bringing these campaigns to the homes of victims. Between the creation of the homelessness, they got to know where you live at to privately collude with landlords and property owners, right? Okay. They obviously had to know where these people lived at for the YouTube video pertaining to the California teenagers caught in surveillance harassing neighbors. They obviously had to know where those neighbors lived at, right? And the gang stalking bullying and steroids YouTube video, the news broadcast. You'll clearly see that they had to know when that guy was coming or going from his home in order to prop up the harassment around him along his routes and at his home. Do you think they're going to harass somebody? Do you think they're going to harass a physical home? No, they're going to wait until the person's home to harass the victim at their home. So that shows surveillance as well. Do you understand? Do you understand? So, you can go to YouTube and you can type in Julian McKinney and Greg Shemansky live leak broadcast. She flat out exposes gang stalking, and she flat out exposes neural choreographing, and she also flat out exposes the fact that intentionally creating episodic memories is one of the main methodologies of gang stalking, because it's how they control you is through the trauma. The trauma, the psychological shock every day of waking up in the woods, homeless, because you've been made homeless because of psycho maggots who intentionally let you know that they created the homelessness of you, and how they intentionally let you know that you're being gang stalked, not just along your routes, but also to the wooded areas. Now, my blog indisputably proves that I've been gang stalked to wooded areas. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay? And it's also all over the internet that they're using sounds, okay, to harass targets connected to gang stalking. Sounds being part of the sensitization methods. Just like I talked about how the old woman who got beat up in her own home, first she heard a sound at her back door. So, what they'll do is send you text messages in the mail. Leslie, you're going to be arrested for illegal lodging. Explain that to social services when you lose your benefits. Because if you're arrested for illegal lodging, trespassing, or encroachment, and you're put in jail for more than 29 days, you automatically lose your social services benefits and even your social security. They sent me 3 letters in the mail threatening it. They sent me over 60 text messages onto my older phone threatening it. They used homeless people at wooded areas to camp about 100 feet away from me that threatened it every day for 2 years. The same identical threats were also set around me at UCSD. Absolutely. So how can people be caught in the area? My Periscope video saying suck my dick right on the other side of that wall of leaves here, when I predicted that it would be caught that morning in my tape recorder. Tape recorders run by date and time. It was caught at a later time on the same date. Earlier that morning is when I made the predictions. And when I made the predictions in my tape recorder. So let's say I made the predictions at 9 a.m. It was caught at 11 a.m. The tape recorder was still running when it was caught on a live Periscope video. Do you understand? That proved just right there, that one video alone that's in this Periscope account, proves I was telling the truth. Absolutely. And I already had information all over the internet that they were getting around me and popping up people to say suck my dick, going all the way back to 2013 and 14, including at UCSD. Hold on. Okay, so what they're doing is controlling your circumstance that they put you in so they can control you mentally with fear. And this is done to mentally wear you out. It's done to intentionally could put you in and keep you in a victimized mindset. Look at those videos I talked to you about. Gang stalking, bullying, and steroids, YouTube. Okay? YouTube, California teenagers caught in surveillance harassing neighbors. Go to YouTube and type in Joey McKinney and Greg Szymanski live late broadcast. Then go to Google and thoroughly research sensitization methods in gang stalking. See, the lying, filthy, criminal, maggot-ass cops will claim they don't know nothing about gang stalking, which is nothing but complete bullshit. Police are supposed to investigate any complaint you make. If it's got merit, you walk into a police department, you say, I'm being gang stalked, they say, well, what's gang stalking? You start explaining to them, they keep interrupting you, trying to suck you into a circular conversation that has where they take you in multiple different directions, so you cannot finish explaining the sequential explanation of how you're trying to describe how you're being gang stalked. That's done to reorientate your thinking and take it back and forth. They're mind games. Absolutely. I know all about it. Absolutely. Okay? And then they'll say, well, that sounds bizarre. Are you crazy? They'll even make a police report stating that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Even though there's testimony of tens of thousands of targets all over the internet sharing the same exact identical story. For instance, why is it that you can go to Google and type in gang stalking repeating words and phrases? Then go to Google and type in gang stalking repeating identical words and phrases. And look at how many Google generated responses come up. Different victims who have never talked to each other, different states. Google color harassment in gang stalking. Google sensitization methods in gang stalking. And look at how many victims there are, people who have never talked to each other, all sharing the same shit. So, if that's online, then why cannot a cop go online and say, okay, we're going to sit you down, and you're going to explain to us what gang stalking is, and then we're going to look up on the internet, and we're going to see that okay, if you say you've been sensitized to people getting around you and saying gang stalk and oh my god and gang stalk and suck my dick every day, and then you go on Google and you see that repeating identical words and phrases is a method of gang stalking, then you take out your tape recorder and you show that these words and phrases are being caught. They had no other excuse except for to investigate it, right? So they never let you get that far. Do you understand? You play in the audio evidence, they'll claim they can't hear it correctly. I've even had stupid SDPDs even said it sounds like they're speaking Spanish. One cop told me in City Hall, said, I looked up 2 videos online, and then I said, this sounds crazy, so I'd rather be out giving parking tickets. Do you understand? Okay. So, I strongly suggest you go to Google and research gang stalking in police. See, these crimes are generating millions and millions of dollars to the state and county tax base because they're making money off of massive racketeering, insurance fraud, human trafficking, drug dealing, you name it. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't sleep around. I don't steal. I'm just describing to you some of the criminal motivations. Okay? And do not ever believe that organized crime is not in the system, baby cakes, because the organized crime in the system is what's perpetrating gang stalking. Absolutely. Let me give you an example. Why do you think that you can go into Google and type in the name of 10 well-known business franchises like McDonald's, Taco Bell, Starbucks, Walmart, okay, Arby's, Jack in the Box, Kroger's grocery store, Sports Authority, Home Depot, and gang stalking, and look at what comes up. And I'm not just saying that type in all these different names separately to gang stalking, separate searches, but also do it pertaining to 10 different states. Then type in the name of 30 universities across the country to gang stalking. Look at what comes up. I've seen information online of gang stalking being reported happening on every UC campus in California. Okay, so do you honestly think for 1 minute this is a crime that's not occurring? Okay, so we have to think logically. It's a crime. It is a crime that is absolutely occurring. It's been covered on national radio shows, national local news broadcasts. It's the most reported crime on the internet. Oh my God. Now, why do they say that? Just hold on. I was hoping to catch somebody that was around me right now. Let me give you an example about why I said that. There has been on several dates I'd be going down the street, walking down the street, any street, I'm not going to name the specific street, and I'd see bicycles coming towards me. Me wearing my tape recorder, I'd say, let's see if these freaks say, oh my God, as they go by me. And as soon as they approach me, they say, oh my God. Because that's how they let you know you're being, it's done to remind you you're being gangstalked. I got the audio files to prove it. Okay? Absolutely. Absolutely. And oh my God was being repeated around me in Michigan. Now, when you go into my blog, you're going to clearly see that I caught the San Diego prosecutors and public defenders on tape repeating gangstalk and oh my God, gangstalk, oh my God, gangstalking, and laughing as they're doing it. But check this out. 2 years before, I made a video in 2014 about dealing with the same exact identical thing in a wooded area. That was already published online. And when I caught the San Diego prosecutors and public defenders doing it, I made a video, uploaded the audio of them doing it from my tape recorder to a video. That video shows the tape recorder's date and time when they were caught. And their voice prints are automatically trapped to have been in that courtroom on the day and time it was caught. Because they processed their court cases in that courtroom on that date. You understand? Okay? Those YouTube videos I made back in 2014 and even 13 and even 15 were already online before they were caught. Okay. So, I don't know about, I reported to the San Diego Police Department in, memory serves me correctly, it was in July or August 2013, that I was being gangstalked at the Jack in the Box on Rosecrans and Emmons Boulevard. I had to call the police because they created an incident as a result of me taking a tissue after I wiped my mouth and tossed it 1 foot away from me. I missed the basket, and before I could go to pick it up, which I immediately attempted to do, the manager says, quit throwing things. Even though they were caught on massive amounts of video files and audio files repeating gangstalking, oh my God, when I was in there. So at any time, you can go to YouTube and extensively research learning disabled woman exposes gangstalking at Jack in the Box, Rosecrans, and Emmons. Listen carefully for these words being said in the background around me. So after they created this big incident about me tossing a tissue literally 1 foot away from me, and I missed the garbage, and before I get a chance to pick it up, he starts yelling at me. So I said, you got a lot of nerve to be yelling at me when you guys are in here engaging in gangstalking harassment. So he says, you need to get the hell out of here. So I walked out the door and called the cops. The cops come out, and I tell them all the evidence I got on my tape. Okay. He goes inside and acts like he took a report, comes back out and says, well, everybody's saying that it was you in there acting hostile, and maybe we should get a doctor to see you. Yet they wouldn't listen to the files. Now, I made a video about that. Go to YouTube and type in Learning Disabled Woman Exposes Gross Negligence of Duty of San Diego Police. Okay, that's that verbal interaction I had with SDPD. That was back in 2013 and published in 2013. And then I catch the San Diego prosecutors and public defenders doing it on October 23rd, 2015. Did I ever catch them on any other dates? Okay? Always listen for gangstalk being said in the background when I'm making any videos. Or suck my dick or anything else. You understand? So fellow American citizens, I am literally being trapped in this homelessness, in this bizarre victimization every day. Every day. Okay? And here's another thing, and then I gotta go. One of the main reasons why I have not been able to, okay, put together enough information, okay, in order to then present it to lawyers is because every single time in 3 states, Connecticut, Michigan, and San Diego, that I've looked up lawyers online and started preparing to go to lawyers physically by copying and pasting YouTube URL links of evidence into email files. One to YouTube video URL link right after the other, one on top of each other. A whole sheet of them in my email files. Okay? I then send them to myself, go to print them out in order to save them for documentation to take to lawyers. They can see I'm doing that on top of looking up lawyers through the cyber surveillance of gangstalking. So you know what they'll do? They start coming after me at wooded areas. Because it's the only place that they can use to make it appear that they have a legal reason, okay, to arrest you or ticket you, and or at least to tie you up in the constant busyness of what? Moving. If you're physically having to move from one wooded area to another, you're not being physically attentive to doing things that you need to do to prepare to go to a lawyer and to go to one. Absolutely. I've had to move 25 times in the past 3.5 years. Well, I've had to move 25 times since August 8, 2011. Okay? And that's including all the areas that I had to go to drop off, okay, and secure backup property in case something was to happen. And check out another thing they'll do. The state and county, to protect their ass so they're not charged, because I caught GangStalking occurring in libraries, which are just government buildings, what they'll do, let me just put it this way, would they ever set up any type of public works workers around you to make you afraid that they're going to start doing tree trimming or any other type of municipal work contracted right either directly through a public worker or individuals or a company that has been contracted through them to do work around you? Is this being done to psychologically motivate you to off the property to avoid from being discovered and the police being called and you being arrested? You understand? Okay. Do you think that they are in a position to know where, since GPS tracking is a method of gang stalking, they know where you're at? Do you think that any government agency has the ability to look up who owns this property through a tax ID number because they end up knowing the address? You understand? Everybody pays taxes, baby cakes. And remember how I told you they privately collude with landlords and property owners? And how you can research that by the information I exposed concerning it? Walking up to a property owner and saying that we got this criminal, we're trying to run them out of our community, but they've been real slick about not being caught concerning the criminality that they're supposedly involved in. So we need you to assist us in running them out of the community by going on your property, acting like you're discovering them, okay, and then telling them to get off. That causing the target to have to move to another area, tying them up into moving, okay, and then boom, they're not going to lawyers. Remember what I said. How do you think that they're evicting targets from apartment complexes and motels? You understand? Now, police are all over directly connected to this crime. And if you don't think it's a government crime, then why can't you go to Google and type in postal workers and gang stalking, mail theft and mail delayment and gang stalking? If that was not a government-protected crime, then why isn't the government prosecuting these mail clerks who are involved in it? And who's giving them the orders? Why is there a book that's on the internet right now titled Electronic Torture, Electronic Rape, Technology, and Gang Stalking at the Post Office? Written by Jewel Cran, a postal worker. We need to think. Now, the technology that's described in the title of that book and within it is remote neural monitoring. Okay. There's also B2K, voice to skull, the microwave hearing effect. Okay. See, when a human being is being experimented on, including these experiments that I'm referring to connected to gang stalking crimes, it's all over the internet that torture is involved every day. Targets of this crime have testified before the Bioethics Commission. Go to YouTube and type in OSEH, okay, bioethics issues. Every single one of those victims are gang stalking victims. So then why are none of those cases being prosecuted? OSEH stands for Organized Stalking Electronic Harassment. Electronic harassment is a term that is used to describe the technological electronic crimes that are happening to gang stalking victims, remote neural monitoring, B2K, microwave hearing effect, and the experimentation. Okay? So they know they're torturing the target. They know that they're taking things from the target as a result of what the target experiences neurologically and biologically from the torture, which encompasses and includes anxiety and nonstop stress, through the community-based harassment, which is the gang stalking. So they know they're breaking the law. They know they've used businesses for it, libraries, universities, okay, and they know that they use the federal government agency to create the homelessness of me. Okay, I'm not saying the other ones are occurring to me in reference to the human experimentation. Oh, fuck that. I'm sick of this shit. My name is Leslie Williams. I'm in San Diego, California. I'd say at least 90% of all gang stalking victims are being experimented on. Am I one of them? If you directly say you're one of them, they can stage an event to try and get a hold of you before you find a lawyer, call you crazy concerning it, put you in a group home, and use you for a straw person for federal and state funds, insurance fraud, and human trafficking. Because these group homes are directly connected to the organized crime groups that are directly connected to perpetrating gang stalking. It's why they're making victims homeless. You understand? So Google insurance fraud and GangStalking. Okay. So how I gotta live every friggin' day is about being subject to different techniques that's designed to lead your thinking what's gonna happen to you today. Why do you think episodic memories are intentionally being created and reinforced, connected to GangStalking? It's done so they create a certain mind pattern programming, thinking responses to the original traumas, associating stimuli to them, and then on later dates using different dupe idiots to represent the stimuli, okay, to stimulate the trauma and the disassociation, because that's how the brain stores traumas. When you're dealing with the trauma, it disassociates. So what they do is form an association to the disassociation by attaching a stimuli to it. Every time the stimuli is represented, it stimulates the disassociation. You understand? So they're literally keeping the target in a traumatized effect every day. Every day. Every day. And in closing, let me give you so you can see that as well. You know how, like, when you've probably seen it in movies and you probably have heard it, you know, in news reports, about how when a woman is raped and they catch the individual who's being accused of doing it, okay, and she's identified him, how the court will try and keep her out of the courtroom and from even testifying about it so she doesn't have to relive it. That's GangStalking. The rape was an episodic event, okay? It created an episodic memory, and then re-seeing the rapist stimulates it. So what they're doing is attaching sensitization stimuli to traumas. And then whatever attached to it, the stimuli, are then reintroduced to keep the traumatization alive. This is GangStalking. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So, fellow American citizens, this is how I live every day. Every fucking day. Okay, SPD can go straight to hell. Absolutely. So can UCSD police. Absolutely, because they're nothing but lying controlled criminals. Absolutely. I've already caught SDPD filing at least 2 falsified police reports. Absolutely. As far as I'm concerned, they're going to go straight to hell. Okay? Keeping me in this victimization every day, it's bullshit. And then calling the victim crazy. Okay? It's total, complete insanity. Okay, I gotta go. So, let's see if anybody claims they heard me, saw me, or saw my property on any wooded area, including this one. Let's see if anybody acts like they're stumbling across me and calls the cops, or walks by me and then goes and calls the cops, doesn't say a word to me, and then the cops say, well, this person was jogging or walking by and they heard you or saw your property, or they saw your tent. Or let's see if they wait until I put my tent up, no matter what wooded area it's at, okay, and then creates an event towards me. So a staged witness, which is all over the internet to be directly connected to staged events concerning GangStalking crimes, because they want to make it appear that the police have normal, apparent, probable cause to come where you're at. Because remember what I said, they got to have the police reports for the eventual probate control. Okay. When you try to get probate control to someone, you gotta have a normal, apparent, legal reason to do it. And what are some of the normal, legal, apparent reasons to petition the state to take custody of a person so they can be used as a straw person for federal, state, and local funds, insurance fraud, and human trafficking inside the group home? You got to try and claim that they can't take care of themselves. Homelessness. You got to try and claim they're mentally ill. Victim thinks they're being stalked. Okay? You got to try and claim that they're a threat to themselves or others. They stage assaults. The target has to defend themselves. You understand? Absolutely. Absolutely. And they'll try and say that Miss Williams thinks everybody's stalking her. She's a threat. And these are the kinds of schemes brought about through the GPS tracking in order to prop up the events for the documentation. See how it works. Okay? So what I do in response to this sick, twisted, criminal bullshit is I predict what they're going to do before they do it. I have predicted 6 assaults. Every bit of harassment I got on my tape recorder right now, over 4,000 audio files of identical harassment. Every bit of that harassment was predicted by me in tape recorders at separate locations. I then left those locations, went about my day, and caught the harassment that I predicted earlier that morning. Every bit of it, proving the stalking. They believe that they can commit this crime against me, okay, and try and claim, well, like, here's another thing. Say if you go to a library and somebody's in there, and they stage an event towards you and accuse you of something, and then stage another witness who will back up that person's story. Okay? You call the cops and you say, well, I think this was because of gang stalking. The cops will say, well, look at the video. They were in the library before you got here. So how can they be stalking you? Because they learn your routes, routines, habits, when you leave the area, where you're going throughout your day. If they see you're headed in on the same bus routes that you took every single time to get to the library, then they're deducing that you're going, and they prop these people up to be there before you arrive. And that's why I predict what I do. You understand? Think about this. I literally predicted 6 assaults before they occurred in video files, email files, and every single one of them in audio files. Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, open up that Twitter link. It's attached to the title of this Periscope video, and you will see truth. You can open it up by writing down the URL characters, then typing them in your URL address bar. Bring up that tweet. It is a long tweet chain. It's called Radio Shack Discussed. It indisputably connects Michigan's gang stalking of me to San Diego. So research it thoroughly, especially the Google group forum posts within it and the part concerning Radio Shack Discussed. Every single link applies. But what you want to really do is look at that first tweet, and then what you want to do is scroll down within it and look for the Google group forum post. Do what I tell you to do, and you will see truth. Absolutely. If anybody comes up on this property, I don't give a shit how nice they act. I don't care what type of person they are. Oh, we're just white people who are middle class, and we're just jogging, and we're taking a shortcut. Oh, we're just a homeless person who wanted to come from the area to rest. Oh, do you have a light? Do you have change? Do you know what time it is? Okay? You say no, please leave me alone, or you totally ignore them, and then they go off on you. Okay? Then they assault you, even baiting you to call the cops for the aforementioned reasons. Or they'll wait until you put your tent up and then say, what are you doing here? Take a video picture of you with your tent and make you live in fear all night. Are the police going to be called? You understand? Fear, baby. Fear, 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 fear. And remember what I said, why they want the fear. Got to get San Diego, California. My name is Leslie Williams. Fellow American citizens, research what I stated and you will see truth. Thank you for listening.